All right, seventh grade, welcome back. So we're in chapter 14, lesson 3, HIV and AIDS. These are two topics that are not very commonly discussed. They're kind of like a taboo topic where it's something that as people talk about it, it for some reason makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but it is something that affects people worldwide and has killed millions. So it's definitely an important topic to talk about. This topic does require a certain level of maturity just because of the content and the way that this is typically passed, which you'll find out shortly. I posted a video which was designed to educate middle school students about this topic, and it's actually a pretty good video, so I highly recommend watching it just to kind of further your knowledge in this, because this isn't, again, something to talk about. I literally remember having an AIDS day in high school, and that's the only day that I ever was taught about this disease, which severely affects the body, and it affects more people than we realize. So this is an important topic. Just keep your mature hats on, and if you guys have questions, do not be afraid to ask. This is definitely something that you want to be, you just don't want to be embarrassed about talking about things like this, because if we don't talk about it, then no one knows anything, and we're putting our health at risk if we don't talk about it. Okay? So we're going to start with, how does HIV affect the body? So our immune system protects us well, so we usually do not even realize that our body has been attacked by a pathogen. But what happens when your immune system itself is sick? Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, or AIDS, so that's AIDS is what that really long phrase is standing for, is a disease that is caused by a virus that specifically targets and attacks the immune system. The virus that causes AIDS is the human immunodeficiency virus. So immuno means like immune system, deficiency means it's not working the way it's supposed to. So if you get this virus, HIV, it can lead you to have this disease, which is AIDS. It's just, you get it acquired means that you got it. It's nothing that you're born with or genetic. But it's your immune system is not working the way that it's supposed to, and you get this syndrome because you were infected with this specific virus. So HIV is the only kind of virus known to attack the human immune system directly and destroy the T cells. Remember, those T cells were really important when fighting off viruses and pathogens that enter our body. They're basically the ones that trigger our body to destroy the pathogen. And if we have a pathogen that's destroying the T cells, there's nothing killing the virus that got into us. So our body basically has no line of defense anymore. So once inside the body, HIV enters the T cells and reproduces. So this is kind of how that virus happens. Whereas right now, the coronavirus, it doesn't affect like T cells, it affects our respiratory system, so like the lungs and airway. The HIV, this type of virus, it enters the T cells that we talked about last lesson, and it's going to reproduce itself there. People can be infected with HIV, that is, have the virus living in their T cells for many years before they come sick. So you can have HIV and not even realize it before you actually become sick. So that's a really dangerous piece of this. In 1981, the first case of AIDS was reported in the United States. Nearly 1 million Americans may now be affected with HIV. Many of these people, 1 in 4, do not realize yet that they are infected. That's kind of a powerful number. 1 out of every 4 people that have it don't realize they have it. However, the disease is not found only in the United States. It's a worldwide epidemic. So this is a big issue that's going worldwide. Looking at the populations living with HIV back in the year 2007, men, there were about 15.3 million, women 15.5 million, and children under the age of 15, it affected 2 million. So it doesn't seem like it discriminates against gender. Age, you'll see why it kind of affects age in a little bit, but there's a lot of people that are living with HIV at the moment. So HIV and AIDS. When people first become infected with HIV, they often have no symptoms. That's an important one. So when you first get it, you don't have any symptoms. A month or so later, they may seem to have the flu, but it goes away. And although they may not have symptoms at first, people can still spread the virus. It may take 10 years or more for symptoms to appear. So that is a long time that it takes this virus to actually take over the body and cause you to have symptoms. Like the flu, if it enters your body, you typically have symptoms within a week or two, like hence the whole 2 weeks, self-isolation. If you think you were exposed, you're giving your body 2 weeks to show symptoms to know whether or not you got it. In this case, HIV can take up to 10 years, even more, for severe symptoms to actually show up. However, in time, HIV begins to destroy the T cells it has infected. So remember, HIV goes into those T cells, so this virus enters a T cell, and it starts making these T cells reproduce its own viral genetics and DNA. Eventually, that T cell that it infected is going to just be destroyed completely. As the virus destroys T cells, like the one shown in figure 1, so down here, the green part is our healthy T cell, and the red part are the little HIV viruses that have infected it. So as it shows figure 1, the body begins to lose its ability to fight disease. So this is a big issue. If your body and your immune system can't fight disease, that means that even if you get the simplest cold, it could kill you because your body just cannot fight it off, and that cold virus is going to take over and eventually cause your organs to shut down. So not good. So the ability, or losing the ability to actually fight disease, that is a symptom of AIDS. It's just not being able to actually fight off an infection that you get. So looking at infections, people with AIDS start to get diseases that healthy people do not normally get. Development of these infections is one symptom of the disease AIDS. Most people infected with HIV eventually develop the symptoms of AIDS. Many survive attack after attack of infections, yet in time their immune systems fail and they die. So it's not necessarily HIV or AIDS that kills you, but it's HIV can lead you to have AIDS, which means your immune system just isn't working the way that it's supposed to be. And if you get another infection like bronchitis, strep throat, a cold, the flu, pneumonia, anything that kind of a healthy person would be able to heal from quickly, these people can't. So it would be those things that actually kill someone because the body can't fight it off. Whereas normal people, we can fight it off, or uninfected people, we can fight it off. So it's not the actual HIV, the virus, that kills you. It weakens your body so much that you just can't survive a normal infection that other people can. Okay, so that's kind of the big piece, is that they start to get diseases, and those infections is one of the major symptoms of AIDS. Most people with HIV develop AIDS, so that's why they're talked about together. Many survive, but eventually through life they end up passing away. So that's kind of an issue. All right, so at this point I'm going to give you the secret word. It is frog, so make sure that you guys enter that. Please watch the remaining little snippet. It's just this last little piece here. But your secret word today is frog, like ribbit, ribbit. All right, so how is HIV spread and treated? So like all other viruses, HIV can reproduce only inside of the cells. However, the virus can survive for a short time outside the body in human body fluids. Sounds gross, but our bodies actually release a lot of fluids. These fluids include blood and the fluids of the male and female reproductive systems. So those are where, if you are going to get HIV, it's because you were exposed to one of those two things. HIV can spread from one person to another if body fluids from an infected person come into contact with the body fluids of an uninfected person. So it's like you have to have those fluids come in contact with each other. So if someone had HIV and they had a cut and that blood gets on my skin, unless I have an open cut and the blood actually, and their blood enters my bloodstream, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get HIV just because it touched my skin. It has to be like fluid to fluid contact. It has to exit their body and enter into yours. Picking up here, sexual contact is one way this transfer happens. HIV may also pass from an infected woman to her baby during pregnancy or childbirth, or through breast milk. So this is probably, remember that statistic where we said that 2 million people under the age of 15 have HIV. This is probably a common reason as to why they have it, is that it was passed to them by their mom if their mom was infected during childbirth, or if they're breastfed. Infected blood can also spread HIV. So for example, drug users who share needles can pass on HIV. Another reason out of millions to not do drugs. Since 1985, all donated blood in the United States has been tested for HIV. So that's an important piece. If you have HIV, you are not allowed to donate blood, obviously, because they don't want you to spread it to 1 million people. So every single donation of blood is going to be tested for HIV before they filter it, clean it, and then pass it on to someone that needs it. At this time, there is no cure for AIDS. However, there are combinations of drugs that fight the virus in different ways, and they can delay the development of AIDS and extend life expectancy. See Figure 2 for information about young people living with AIDS. So if we look at this, here's a number of individuals that says 13 to 24-year-olds living with AIDS in the United States between 2002 and 2006. So if we look, these are the years, and this is how many thousand people in that age range live with AIDS. So in 2002, there were 6,000. In 2003, it jumped up to probably 6,700-ish. 2004, it jumped up again. 2005, it jumped up again. 2006, it jumped up, but not as much. So it almost looks like it's a steady increase of people living with AIDS throughout those years. So it's definitely increasing with it. Again, once you get HIV, there is no cure. You can't get rid of that virus. It's in your body. But what you can do is be taking medicine that slows it down and how much it's able to reproduce in your body. So let's say that you were diagnosed with HIV when you were 25, and then you were not treated at all. You might not live past the age of 35 or 40. But if you're taking the medicine and you're making sure that you're staying healthy and staying away from sick people, and you're trying not to expose yourself to any illnesses, you might be able to extend your life expectancy to like 60 or 70. So it prolongs the ability of you to live because it's slowing down the virus, but eventually, more than likely, the virus is going to weaken your immune system too much. So when you get another kind of infection like a cold or the flu, your body won't be able to handle it. So that was a little bit of a depressing lesson, but it's something that's extremely important for us to be aware of, because it's still a major issue worldwide, and we can't protect ourselves, and we cannot help prevent these things from happening if you don't know about it. So this is a really important lesson. At this point, make sure you answer the secret question. Your review and reinforce is due next class, and you have a quiz next class. I think we have a couple more lessons, and then you guys will be taking the test over chapter 14. So let me know if you have questions, and I hope you guys are having a good day. I'll talk to you later.